Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the Audi A6 e-tron in the Avant version. You can also pick it up in a Sportback variant, and in the Sportback variant the car would be the most efficient car, or not efficient, the most aerodynamic car that Audi has ever produced. The Avant is going to have a CV value of 0.24, Sportback 0.21. We're going to be looking at everything this car offers. The amount of range that it claims is quite high, so we're going to look if we can actually achieve that, what you get for the price, and if the A6 is better than the other variants of, or other manufacturers, for instance the i5 and stuff like that. Let's get right into the video and start off with the price. The starting price of the e-tron is going to be 65,000, just right around there, but then you get a smaller battery. You can also pick up the performance or the quattro version. The performance version is the one we have here with the most amount of range that you can pick up, and also the bigger battery, which is going to be 100 kilowatts an hour. Net usage is going to be around 95 kilowatts an hour, but we're going to look at that a little bit more once we also do our charging test. Let's start off in the front here and also quickly talk about the price that we pay for the car the way it's standing here, which is going to be just around 102,000 euros. Because there's a lot of extras that we picked up, and I think there's around 24,000 euros of extras in this car, which is quite a lot. Let's start off in the front. You can see, obviously, because it's an electric car, we have quite an aerodynamic look in the front. We don't have an actual open grille. We just have this fake one with the elements here that you also get on the combustion engine cars with the S-line. For instance, these L shapes on here. Audi, the new Audi logo in the bottom here, and also active aerodynamic on the bottom, as well as a sensor. Actually quite nice design in the front in my opinion. We get our daytime lights up on the top, which are quite slim, kind of looking like a Hyundai Kona of the previous generation in my opinion. You have 8 different light signatures in here. You can also get some more in the App Store, which is integrated into the car, and you can download some more. And then you have your normal high beams and stuff like that here on the bottom, with some aerodynamic flaps here on the side, or let's call them air curtains. We do also have a frunk in here, which is quite nice because we can actually do this. You know, you can do that. Okay, how did you do it on the first time? There we go. We'll just make it squeak a little bit. It's going to have 27 liters of storage space in there, if I can actually open it. But that's always quite nice, because you don't have to go in the inside to actually open it. You can put your charging cable up in the front here, and then you're always going to have a spot where you can put it, or even some small grocery shopping, and you don't have to go inside of the car. You can just do that, and you can open it, which is always quite nice. And in the back, the car, in my opinion, looks a little bit nicer than the front. Fairly typical Audi design here, the new generation ones. We have that full light bar going through, which is an OLED rear light taillight. It's going to come with the Tech Pro variant, if I'm not mistaken, or even one below that. So you have to choose one of the extras to actually get that rear light to look like this. Then you have, again, 8 different light signatures in here, which is quite nice. We do also have the A6 standing here. No e-tron anywhere. The only way you can know from the back that it is an EV is, for instance, you don't have any exhaust pipes. You get this diffuser on the bottom. And in Germany, we also have the E sign here on the back. Let's also open the trunk, which is obviously electrical. You can also use your foot on the bottom, where there is going to be a projection at night where you have to kick it to open it. And in here we have 502 liters up to 1,422. That is not the most when you, for instance, flip it over. Even a Polestar 4, for instance, which is not an Avant version, that's going to have 100 liters more. The i5 is going to have quite a lot more. Even the ID7 is going to have quite a lot more. So not the most when you flip it over, but you can also have a 40-20-40 split. So you can flip over the rear, the center tunnel, to instance, get some skis through there, and also flip them over here from the back by just a lever. We do also have some more storage space below here, if we do want to open that. So you can put, for instance, your charging cables in there, which we currently do have, so just some storage space there. But personally, I'd probably put them in the front, just because you're not going to use them too much, only when you're at home, and then you can just easily open it from the front, which is always quite nice. You can also get a towing hook on here, and the nice thing is that you can actually tow up to 2.1 tons with this car. I've never actually towed something in the back with an EV, so I don't actually know how much range it's going to deplete, but probably quite a lot. And on that towing hook you would also be able to put 100 kilograms. And on the right and also on the left side you will be able to charge the car, but just on the left side, if you look from the back, you will be able to charge the car fast, which is obviously a DC, and the AC on the other side, you can flip that out. You can see we have a very big port here, and it's also quite close up to the window, so I don't know if they maybe design-wise, in my opinion, it doesn't look too nice. Just to put it a little bit lower would have been nicer. This is going to be electrical, which doesn't always work the smoothest and sometimes feel like you're breaking it. And like I said, we can charge it here on the left side with up to 270 kilowatts with the bigger battery. The smaller battery is only going to be charging at 225, both 800 volt architectures, so still quite quick, and both are going to charge from 10 to 80% in 21 minutes. The car does claim, this variant, to get around 650 up to 720 kilometers of range with a WLTP consumption of 16.8 kilowatts an hour. We did do a full consumption test. If you want to check that out, video on the top right corner. Depends on if I'm going to upload this video before that or afterwards. So very interesting there, but we're still going to look at the consumption and range a little bit once we're driving here. Let's look at our charging test that we got. We charged the car from around 10 up to 80%, or exactly 80%. And we got a max charging speed of 275.8 kilowatts, so quite high. And also the average speed was 191, so again, very nice. And the loading curve is also very fantastic. It goes up and then smoothly goes down. So we get a very high average speed. Let's also talk about the two other German manufacturers that do put some rival cars out there. For instance, the BMW i5 Touring, starting at 72,200 euros with a net usage of 81.2 kilowatts an hour. Quite a lot slower when it comes to the charging speed. And the Mercedes EQE starting at 67,187, up to a total net usage of 90.5 kilowatts an hour. Again, charging a little bit slower. This car just has the biggest battery and also the faster charging speed, so theoretically should give you the most amount of range out of those competitors. I've not driven those other competitors, so I can't really comment on that. Let's also talk about the dimension of the car, because it is quite a long car, as you can probably tell from that side view. 4 meters and 93 centimeters long, 1 meter and 92 wide, and also 1 meter and 49 up to 1 meter and 54 tall, because we do have an adaptive air suspension in here, which is a cost that you're going to have to pick up if you do want it, but that's going to allow you to change the ride height of the car, depending if you're in comfort, in eco, individual, dynamic, stuff like that. It's going to change the ride height. Let's also take a look at the rims, because these are some quite big ones. We have these 21-inch rims in complete black in here. Quite nice looking design in my opinion, and also obviously disc brakes in the front and in the rear with some actually quite big tires, 245s in the front and two, was it 75? Yeah, 275s in the rear, so quite some big ones. It is all-wheel rear drive for this variant. You can also get the Quattro variant, then you're gonna have all-wheel drive. And this is the second car that Audi has ever brought out which gets a rear-wheel drive system, because Audi is usually those front-wheel drive is just the better variant, but now we get this. So in the winter, this might actually be quite nice. The only other variant that had a rear-wheel drive variant is going to be the R8 with the rear-wheel drive system. We do also have these new door handles on here, which are just some very aerodynamic ones. You press on them in the inside and then they open. And we do also have soft close in here. So you can see if I close the car like that, it is going to go in and automatically close. We do also have our digital side mirrors, which you can pick up for 1,450 euros extra. You can also flip them inwards if you're parked in a tight spot. And these are actually quite decent at night in my opinion, and also when it's completely raining, they're actually quite decent. Let me know what you think of the design here on the side. In my opinion, a very bulky looking car and a fairly low one as well, because of these side skirts which go down fairly far. E-tron here on the bottom, and we also do not have tinted rear windows in here. You could pick those up, but we just don't have them selected right now. And join me in the back here, where typical A6, you're expecting to have quite a lot of legroom, and well, legroom is definitely given. I'm 1.80 m tall, or 5'11", and I do have a legroom. Footroom is actually not that decent. There are some vents down there which are prohibiting you to put your feet a little bit lower in there, which you can see right down there. Those vents are kind of prohibiting you. And what you definitely notice is if I'm sitting like this, you can see my upper thighs are definitely not supported at all here by the bench. And even if I put my feet down all the way, still there's no support at all, due to the fact that we obviously have the battery below, and therefore the bench is just fairly low, but your feet are quite high. What they could have done is maybe increase the bench a little bit. That would mean you wouldn't have as much headroom. And also they could have maybe increased the inclination a little bit, or just carved out a little bit on the bottom like we have on the e-tron GT RS, for instance. But we don't have that in here. So even if I'm sitting like to be completely comfortable, I had to sit like this for longer journeys, or if there's nobody sitting beside me, I can obviously do this, because we do not have a big center tunnel in here, because we don't need one. But still, it is not the most comfortable to sit over longer journeys because you just don't have any support. I do have quite a lot of headroom. If I'm sitting up straight, there's around this much space. That's probably around 10 centimeters. We do also have this white interior, which you can see. Wouldn't personally pick it up because it just gets dirty quite quick. We get a center console in here with an armrest with 2 cup holders, but there is no actual tunnel. Actually, yeah, I mean, we can put the whole thing through, but there's no separate tunnel in the center, which you can flip over just to have a small space in there. Let's look at take a look at the isofix points here. They're very easy to get to, just integrated nicely in there. And also this I always like because it's illuminated here on your seatbelt, so at night you can find it quite easily. Here in the front we get hard plastic, which is not the nicest, but we get a little bit of storage space there. Up on the front here we got our own climatization zone with the indication down here, and also heated seats for the outermost seats, as well as 2 USB-Cs on the bottom. Let's look at this quality on the side. Up top we got decent material, Bang & Olufsen sound system with ambient lighting behind it. Nice material here, which is all quite soft, but then this is all going to be hard plastic as well as in the inside, so there's no kind of felt in there, which is going to prevent your bottle from moving around or just being a little bit quieter. So that is not the most highest quality, but I mean, lots of other manufacturers also do that on the side. Let me know what you think of the back of the car. And now join me in the inside of the Audi A6 e-tron Performance. First thing I am going to point out is, I don't know if you've seen the new Audi Q3, which is kind of the new base variant with the updated interior. And it looks the exact same in this kind of picture here. If you just took a picture right here and you're like, okay, what car am I sitting in? I couldn't be able to tell you apart from, well, obviously the symbol up there. But otherwise, all of the new Audi models just look the same in the inside. It's obviously a cost-saving aspect and easier for production lines. But I'm just not a big fan of it, because previously you had, for instance, the A3 look different from the outside, and then you from the inside, and you stepped up to the A6. You had a nicely integrated infotainment display in the dashboard, and then also another section down here for your climatization. Just looked a lot more high quality. This just looks the same as if I'm sitting in a Q3, an Audi A5, in an Audi Q5. Everything just looks the same. And even for if you're getting the S variant of this car, the steering wheel is going to be a little bit different. You get a couple of other stitchings, but this is still going to be the same, which in my opinion just isn't that nice. But let's talk about the inside. I still do like the new insides of the Audis, because they are actually quite intuitive and, well, quite easy to use, and you have a lot of function in them. For instance, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless, with a very easy to use infotainment display, which you get a lot of settings through. For instance, you can pre-charge the car, you can set up stuff like that. You can have your preconditioning activated manually, or you put it into the navigation, which works really simple. Even the passenger can do it. For instance, if he goes onto the navigation and searches for instance, a destination, put something like, well, that's not going to be too far away, but 28 kilometers, and then I can show it on here, and it's going to show me how much percent I'm going to have left once I arrive. And even if I put, for instance, a longer distance in there, for instance, we went down to Munich, well, up and down to Munich, and you can see it's going to predict, okay, you're going to have to do one charging spot here for around 28 minutes. If I press on it, I can see it's going to be around 200 kilometers, and I have to charge up to 89% to achieve my destination with 20% of state of charge. Because I have also set that up here, I want to arrive at a minimum of 20% at my destination, so that is also quite nice. And this works wonderful. If there's one closed, it's going to tell you, okay, you can't go to this one. This is going to show you 24 hours open. 6 of them are going to be available right now, and it even shows you with what you can pay and stuff like that. Really great, very easy to use, and just makes it a lot easier, and you don't have to worry too much about range when you're doing that, because you just go to the destination that you plugged in. Otherwise, we have our digital cockpit in here, which is still just like in the A5 that we had, a little bit, well, washed out and not as high quality, like a little bit blurry. Infotainment display is not blurry at all, and then obviously your passenger display, which you get if you upgrade to the Tech Pro. We do have a heads-up display as well, which is 3D augmented reality, and also the Bang & Olufsen sound system, because we do have the MMI Pro, whatever it's called, you get that, and heads-up display and a couple other things. That element up there is kind of out of metal, and it does blend at times, so when the sun shines from like over here, it can actually blend you, which is not going to be the nicest. You can also see we do have the optional virtual mirrors for 1,500 euros, and you can change them from the side here. They're actually quite easy to use. You're just going to have to get used to them. I personally don't like the angle too much. It's just a little bit too well, horizontal in my opinion, but otherwise you get used to them, and they're actually quite good to use once you're driving at night, for instance, because the lights of the cars in the back are not going to blind you as much, and they're just quite easy to use in my opinion. Even when there's high level of water or rain, they're going to be actually better in my opinion than normal mirrors. Element here on the side, which obviously not the highest quality, but you have memory function, for instance. With a car that's almost 102,000 euros, we do only have heated seats in here. We do not have ventilated seats or even massage function. That comes with a different package. So when you configure the car, you're going to have to take a look at that in order to actually know if you have heated, ventilated, and also massage function. We do also have the panoramic window in here, which is like this intelligent one, which you can dim sections of it, or you can also do something like this. You can have different elements there that you want blended, or you can open it or close it completely. Obviously you can't open it so you have wind coming through. You can just open it in the sense of letting some light in. Inductive loading space in the center, USB-C, and another one here, 12 volt, and also 2 cup holders in the center with a little bit more storage space down here. When it comes to quality, that sounds quite hollow under there. Nice element on the outside, but plastic on the inside of it. And also we get some, actually that's not plastic. Is it plastic? Is that plastic? No, it's not plastic. Yeah, it is. It is. It's like scratchier plastic. So on the very bottom you do get scratchier plastic, but otherwise the quality is quite decent in here. We also have a full 360-degree camera with also a park assistance in here, and it will also show you, for instance, at the distance here. It's going to tell you, it's not going to show me right now, but if I reverse, yeah, they are 50 centimeters towards that 35, which is quite nice. But yeah, that's about it. Let's go and start driving this car now. Obviously it's an electric car, so you're not going to hear any engine noise, and it's just very comfortable to drive even at higher speeds. We drove down to Munich and back up with around 140 kilometers an hour, and actually quite comfortable to drive then. The car does claim up to 650 kilometers of range. When we were driving down to Munich and back up, we had our tachometer, our cruise control set to around 140, and the speed, the consumption that we got, I think on the way back, was 20 kilowatts an hour, which is quite decent in my opinion for 140 kilometers an hour. We do also have a complete consumption test on the top right corner there if you do want to check that out, but it depends on if I upload that video before this one, so you're just gonna have to subscribe so you don't miss a video about that. But let's talk about the consumption we currently have. I reset this while I was mainly driving in the city, so 20.4. It was down to 18 previously, just a little bit hillier here. But if you want your complete consumption test, you can obviously check that out of the video that we are going to post, or already have posted. That's a lovely view here that we have. But the car does claim that 650 kilometers. And when we were driving down there, we were looking with 140 at around 300 to 350 kilometers when we were driving from 80 down to 10%. If you were obviously going to charge at home for the first leg of that trip, you would probably be getting around 400 and 410 kilometers. So actually not bad. Definitely if you're doing longer distance, it's doable, and then you can charge it with 270 kilowatts quite quickly, which is definitely not a bad thing. So over longer distance you can definitely do it with this car, and it was actually quite comfortable to do that because of that quick charge stop. So actually not bad at all. We do have quite a lot of safety features in here as well. We do still have that wonderful button on the bottom left here for adaptive cruise control, which we can just put up to 100. It's going to obviously keep the distance to the car in front, and I love that they just have a simple knob for that on the side here, and it works very nicely. When we're driving on the Autobahn, it's obviously also, or it's not obviously, but it is also going to slow down if you're, for instance, trying to overtake on the right side, which you're not allowed to do in Germany. It's going to slow down so you do not overtake that car in front, or on the left side, and just keep the distance to the car in front and stuff like that. Works quite nice. We do also obviously have that e-warning assistant, and for that we have a button here on the side which we can simply press, and it's not going to, that didn't press, it's not going to bother us anymore. You can see that via the symbol on the top left. It's activated, which is quite nice. You can change it to a couple other things that you honestly also want on here, but it's just quite comfortable to just have one button to turn it off. The car is going to have 367 horsepower. Let's go into the drive mode on dynamic. Actually, that's going to add some fake sound to it as well. Just a little bit of rumble there. If you do launch control 380 kilometers an hour, 380 horsepower, that's going to get you from 0 to 100 in those 5.4 seconds. Let's also quickly do a 0 to 100 test to see if it can actually achieve that. And now for that 0 to 100 test, I have completely turned off ESC by holding it down for a little bit, and also put it into dynamic, which is the most sportiest setting that you can get in here. I've not tried it before, so I hopefully it doesn't like stop it once I'm on the brakes fully and then try to accelerate, because I'm not obviously building up any boost or anything like that. But we're just going to try it here and see. With a 380 horsepower, it's supposed to get 0 to 100 in 5.4 seconds. And there you go, it says launch control activated. Quite decent kick there. And 5.64 seconds, not exactly what is claimed. We're just going to do it one more time here, because there's also an increase of 1% here. So if we probably go the way back, it's going to get down to 5.4 seconds. And the top speed on the Autobahn with 210 kilometers an hour is honestly also not too bad, but you're not going to be driving that for too long, because then it's not going to have much range left. Center of gravity on this car, just like almost any EV, is just very good. Weight distribution, I don't know if it's a 50-50 on this, but probably close to it. And therefore you can actually turn into corners quite nicely. You're not going to lose too much traction. You can, however, turn traction control off in this. And because it is a rear-wheel drive car with the e-Performance, or the e-tron Performance, you are actually going to be able to drift this car around the corner. I did it without traction control off. You can actually skirt the wheels a little bit. Didn't do too much on it, but if you turn it off, I think you can actually have some good fun with it. But I mean, the acceleration on here is actually quite nice, and then the cornering capabilities, definitely something that you're gonna have a little bit of fun of. If you want more fun, obviously the e-tron Quattro is going to be 4.7 seconds from 0 to 100, and just a little bit more kick. But yeah, that's about it for the well, faster driving of this car around country roads. We do also have quite comfortable feelings, or quite comfortable settings in here. If you go into, for instance, comfort mode, is obviously going to put the air suspension, because we do have that dynamic air suspension or adaptive air suspension here. You can see it on the left side. It's going to lower it a little bit, and also smoothen up those the air suspension. And like I said, over longer distances, this car has actually been quite nice to drive. And sound isolation, it's going to put in the center for comfort. Sound isolation here, definitely also not a bad thing in this car. It is quite decently isolated. So what is my final verdict on the Audi A6 e-tron in the Avant version? I mean, Audi is kind of late to the party when it comes to making kind of a sedan or even Avant version for, well, the German market, and in general for the market. i5 has been around for a longer time, the Mercedes EQE has been around for quite a long time, and the A6 just came out last year. But they have definitely increased the technology aspect compared to those other competitors, with a very quick charging speed, a very big battery, very good route planning in there, so you're not really going to have any issues when you're going over longer journeys. You're still not going to have that smooth and just comfortable drive when you're obviously driving over long journeys without having to worry about where do I need to charge, like in a combustion engine car. But I mean, we drove down to Munich and it was quite comfortable. We stopped when they told us to stop, and we stopped there for like 20 minutes when we even thought, okay, I think a stop now wouldn't be bad. So you actually get quite a good amount of well, range out of this. In general, design in the front is not my kind of cup of tea, but there's so much tech in here which I actually quite like. Virtual mirrors are better than I expected, and just in general a very comfortable riding experience in there. And in my opinion, quite a decent car all around, but just quite expensive. What do you think of the price? Let me know in the comments. What car would you pick up? And make sure to like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.